Let's talk about the Niners' best move of the offseason, since the offseason is mostly over. You could talk about a player they signed. They signed Javon Hargrave, big deal. Player they drafted. But to me, the most intriguing addition is the defensive coordinator they brought in. Steve Wilks, you mentioned in our last segment about how he immediately showed his imprint by making the first move for safety. The emphasis on defensive backs and a guy who actually knows how to find them and coach them. I think he's been around a long time, and he's going to make this defense a little bit more sophisticated, complex, because the way I see it is it went from sophisticated with Robert Saleh, and when DeMeco Ryans took over, his calling card was simplifying it, which worked for him. But I think when they got deep in the playoffs, I just didn't think he had enough going on schematically to beat some of these great offenses. And now I think Steve Wilks does. So I think this is a big deal for the 49ers getting Wilks. I think they upgraded at D coordinator.
Well, let's go slow on this. In terms of Saleh and Ryans, who's a better defensive coordinator?
Saleh, and it's not close. It's not close.
Why?
I mean, they're both good, but Saleh, you can see it in his pressure schemes. His pressure schemes, those are blitzes, but I mean, there's so much more than blitzes. They're brilliant. They're a chess player. You can see him thinking 3 moves ahead. If I put this person here, they'll do this, and I can do this, and I'll get a free rusher here. He could do it all the time on third down, and that's when I first saw that he was good. Not that, like, oh, his players all run to the ball or that kind of stuff. Like, look at his blitzes. They're very, very intricate. Solid. I mean, Ryan's barely blitzes, and his blitz is like, Hufanga off the edge or Warner up the middle. I mean, there's nothing really going on. He's not getting free rushers, so I don't think he's that creative in that. And like what he's known for is his players play hard. So when someone gets tackled, like the whole defense is there. You get all 11 guys in the TV screen. That's great. That's great. But I think you need more than that to win a Super Bowl. And I all I know is that Saleh was in the Super Bowl. Ryan's never was. And when they got to the NFC Championship game, I felt he would have his worst performances. So now you have a guy with real experience who I think can he's much better at scheming up blitzes than Ryans. He might be better than Saleh. I mean, I don't know him as well, but that's his reputation. He's very creative with pressure in ways that Ryans isn't.
So as good as Ryans is, you would say that in a way this is a return to the Saleh level to get Steve Wilks.
I would think so. Because again, what Ryans did was just simplify things, which is great a lot of the time, but I think you're not going to beat the Eagles in the NFC Championship game, without blitzing, without the ability to generate pressure. When they played the Chiefs mid-season, they sacked Mahomes 0 times. I mean, DeMeco Ryans' defense just got obliterated. They gave up like 44 points. It's like they weren't on the field. And he can have whatever excuse he wants, but he just, I think, schematically got taken to school by Andy Reid. And that's going to happen to him unless he, doesn't just rely on Nick Bosa to be great.
I'd like to praise Kyle Shanahan in a certain sense because we have been we've been critical of him about the offensive line. Mm-hmm. I respect him that he goes out and gets good coaches.
Me too.
He doesn't seem to feel threatened by people with a pedigree. Mm-hmm. Like he's got Wilks, who's a former head coach. He could feel threatened. You sit in those meetings and they're like graduate seminars, Iggy. You know what graduate seminars are like. You were used to sit in my class. There's a million ideas flying around, and people are polite, but you have to defend yourself. And I'm sure that Wilks is a presence. It doesn't bother Shanahan. In that regard, he's a good head coach because he gets very challenging assistant coaches and coordinators.
In addition, very good, challenging, respected assistant coaches and coordinators respect him and want to work for him. Couldn't say that about Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly couldn't get a defensive coordinator to save his life. He wanted Mike Vrabel, and Bill Belichick, I think, said, hey, don't do that. That'll be bad for your career. So Chip Kelly had to end up getting Jim O'Neill because the book on Kelly was that, he doesn't know the first thing about defense. He goes really fast on offense. He's going to put your defense in bad positions. They'll lead the league in time on the field, and you'll give up like 30 points a game. So he couldn't get a D coordinator. Kyle gets the best D coordinators.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So I respect that about him.
too.
Kyle's a very complicated person.
which is why he's so much fun to cover. If he wasn't complicated and if he was just a loser, after a year or two, you'd be like, this is boring. I don't want to keep writing the same thing. That's kind of how it felt with Tom Sula and Kelly. This guy is a very successful, flawed person who's young,
Right.
who could conceivably get over the hump if he just
Right.
makes a tweak here or there.
If he
won't.
looks in, if he looks inward,
If he looks inward, that's true.
yeah.
Yeah, it's true. It's like in Empire Strikes Back where Luke Skywalker has to go to Yoda and he has to go into that little fortress and confront his inner demons. That's what Kyle needs to do. He needs to go spend the offseason with Yoda and confront his. And it's not your dad. It's someone else. Got to be your Yoda. You got to confront your inner demons and harness the Force, Kyle. Harness the Force. Sorry, that's my recommendation for Kyle's offseason.